Well, hello and welcome. So we're live again. We got like a bunch of new stuff, so it's gonna be kind of cool. I've got headphones in because I got someone helping me with chat. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask, because hopefully I'll be able to answer them, as long as there's not too many. But we also have a new microphone, so let me know how that sounds, like if it's too quiet or something like that. I did try to put the settings before, but who knows how it actually works out now. And we also got a new camera angle, so this is pretty cool. I hooked up a camera to a rail so we can kind of see what's going on right in front now, or right underneath, I guess, rather. So tonight is all about QDC fittings. If you didn't see or read anything, QDCs are pretty cool fittings. They stand for Quick Disconnect Fitting. So as you can see, this is actually two fittings. You do buy them separately as far as these Coolants ones go. But they basically make it possible to connect and disconnect components, or just tubing in general, in your loop very easily without causing any leaks or anything like that. Or they're supposed to not leak. All of them say leak free, I guess, but I've never tested them all, so who actually knows. I got a couple different QDCs to show you guys tonight, so should be fun. We're going to install these ones. These are just for tubing. We're going to install them on the CPU loop of the test bench because it'll make testing all of our CPU blocks quite a bit easier, because we can just disconnect the block and then not have to worry about draining or doing any of that. So we do have to start by draining this computer tonight, so we're going to shut this guy down. Let me see, I can switch the camera angle, I believe. I thought I could. Maybe I can't. So the hotkeys stopped working as soon as it started, of course. So there we go. We're going to switch to this angle, and we're going to start by just draining the top end of this loop. And this is where I'm going to actually demonstrate a different QDC. So I have bulkhead QDCs on this test bench, and I'll show you kind of why here once we move some of this stuff out of the way. So let's shut this guy down, and we can move it out, and hopefully the view's still okay. I think it should be, but you guys let me know if it's hard to see. Well, just gotta unplug some of these things. And if you couldn't tell, in the back here, let me see if I can move that other camera around. I don't want to lose my power cable though. It likes to go behind the bench, which is never fun. No announcement on Discord. Well, I wonder if the bot's just not working right now. So in the lower left there for that camera, you guys should be able to see that there are a bunch of bulkhead quick disconnects here, and I've explained it in the past. These are for connecting up another radiator to the loop, or just another component in general. So I also use them as a drain though, because it is actually just 2 points in the loop. So we can connect up this nice tube here, right here. Let me see. So if I move this over, I think you guys will be able to see me draining it pretty well. Or maybe we should just switch back to the other angle. I wish the hotkey still worked. That would have made this a lot easier. So let's see. Okay. Come on, camera. Stay up. Here we go. So let me adjust this slightly, and there. Okay, that was difficult. But these top two are connected into the CPU loop. I could kind of show you what's going on back there, but it's probably just going to confuse you just as much as it confuses me. So all you need to know is these do come directly off the loop, and as soon as we plug this in, do not knock over our little cup here. As soon as you plug these in, it's just going to start draining out of here, just because this is obviously not connected to anything. But right now, it's obviously not leaking because it is a quick disconnect fitting that is leak free. So now, if you push it on, like so, we can actually drain this loop. So I have a really nice long drain, and we're just gonna set her down on the floor As you can see, some fluid starts, but if we open up a port on the reservoir, it should start going a lot faster. But I can show you guys another trick here that you can do that does actually help with draining your loop. But there we go. We're getting there started here. These headphones keep trying to pop out, and it's really frustrating. So we've almost got the reservoir drained. I am actually just going to save this coolant just because it's just distilled water and some additives, and I'm putting it into a clean container, so doing this really isn't that bad. For the coolant, we'll just put her back in as soon as we get our QDCs installed. Oh, that tube is not clean though. That's not so cool. It's almost like I was using red coolant recently. So, if you guys wanted to know, the EK cryofuel is still actually doing solid, just like the name suggests, although it is not solid in the literal sense, so that's good news. But I guess we'll probably revisit that if anything changes. If not, I plan on just probably, you guys can ask me in chats and stuff, and maybe in a couple months we can go back and look at it. We can like drain it and see what's happened. However, it's really not doing much right now. It just seems to be doing the same, which is a good thing in my opinion. Which I guess isn't as interesting as if bad things happen. Everybody likes that, so sorry, but the story was not that interesting. So now we just connected to the bottom part, and it's actually draining more of the loop as we speak here, and hopefully, yeah, the CPU block's just about empty here. So as soon as this tube drains all the way, all I'm going to do is, if you guys can still see, kind of, let's see, if I bump this up just a little bit. So I've got a tube off the reservoir here, and I'm just going to blow into the reservoir, which will force air into the loop and hopefully most of the coolant out, like so. And that's really all it takes. I saw it all come out of the CPU block, so we're pretty good there. Now all we got to do is kind of take this all apart. Let me see if I can get you guys a little better angle for that. We're going to disconnect our bulkhead quick disconnect fitting. So as I said, there are a few different types. These ones that I have here actually do have like a bulkhead nut on them, so you could use them in a similar way. However, I'm not quite sure how well that would work. These ones actually have bulkhead and then G and a quarter on the other side instead of a barb. So you just screw a fitting into the other side of those. And then this side I got with the compression fitting for tubing. These ones are just barbs, but they should be good. What water block am I using right now? I have the EK Velocity on there, but we're going to be swapping them all around pretty soon here. Like I said, we're going to get these quick disconnects in, and then I have these flow meters from Aqua Computer that we got to put in the loop as well, and then we'll start testing blocks as soon as that's all put back together. Let me see if I can get you guys a little better camera angle for this part though. Oh no, we lost a QDC. I don't know why this camera cord is so short, because it really shouldn't be. There we go. Now we got some more length. I thought we did. Okay, well, come on, camera. The plan was to have better camera angles tonight. However, the way this one is working out, it probably would have been better to have a camera out front now that I look at it. But I will turn this guy just a little bit. Pretty easy to figure out what I'm about to do here. So these tubes are pretty much drained. There's a little bit of coolant sitting in them, but we're not really going to worry about that too much, because all we got to do is technically cut these tubes just enough to fit these barbs on there, and I'm thinking just right there in the middle probably will do just fine. Really doesn't have to be anything spectacular. If you guys noticed in the description, I did link the tubing tamers right here that I have. Hank had me kind of make these a product a little while ago. I just thought they'd be nice to keep these tube runs specifically in this build just kind of separated evenly and kept parallel. They mostly work, I guess, and I'm not sure how they're going to do now with the added weight of the QDCs. These aren't extremely heavy, but I feel like we might get some tube sag now, so that'll be a little bit unfortunate, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. This is more of a function build than form anyways, so I'm just going to put some paper towels down because there is just a little bit of water left, so it's definitely going to drip a little bit, hopefully not too much, but this way we don't have any issues with booting right back up and making sure that we did the job correctly. So all I got next is some tubing cutters right here. Pretty sure, I guess I didn't link these in the chat, but if you guys have ever used soft tubing, you probably have a pair of these anyways. And we have plenty of options on PVCs, so you can check those out. And this mic, or these headphones, are still really annoying me. They keep trying to pull each other out. So I think all I really want to do is, I suppose I could grab a marker. Oh, on the GPU, that's a Coolant's block. It's for a 980 Ti. I think there's like one left, but it's a really old block. So I mean, I could link it, but nobody really needs 980 Ti blocks as far as I know. But for getting these on, all I think I'm going to do here is, I mean, I suppose I could just remove the whole length of tubing and actually put it in the middle. I suppose we could do that. I was just going to do it right there and do it dirty, but I suppose just taking the tubing off one last time isn't very difficult either. That was the point of the soft tubing anyways, is because soft tubing is in general easier to work with than hard tubing. If you are, you know, taking blocks off or changing hardware around, soft tubing is definitely the way to go. Although this test bench has both soft and hard tubing, so what am I to say? So we got it disconnected there. I think I can just leave these tubes together and then cut them, because I do want the QDCs in the same like position on each tube, just so it matches up nicely. But I'll show you guys in just a second, once we get these installed, how easy it will actually make it to remove the CPU block. Because as I said, I mean, I got the EK velocity on there right now, which EK kindly sent out here, but it will be tested, and the top loop pump feeding nowhere. Everything is routed in the back, so I mean, you might not be able to see that it goes anywhere, but it goes pump out, and then it goes into the radiator, out of the radiator, into the block, and then back out of the block and into the top of the reservoir. So both loops do the same thing, but it is a dual loop system. So yeah, and I really can't get these headphones to cooperate. Maybe that'll work. Okay, so we've got our tubing right here, and I grabbed my marker. I don't know if we really need it, although it might be nice if I put this in the middle. I can just mark both tubes at the same time. So right there, right there, and then we need it right there, and right there. Okie dokie. So I'm going to cut right about on those lines, and hopefully it will work out. That's the plan, at least. So I guess let's test one of them. So they do have clamps. So let's grab my pliers for those. They are pretty tight, which is good. Tight clamps are good. And as far as clamps go, what you gotta do is press them out like so. Ooh, well, that guy didn't make it very far, hopefully. Good thing we got more. clamps are so tight. And they're actually really tight around this tubing too. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to start by putting it on the barb then. Man, they barely fit around the barb. I feel like these clamps are a little ridiculous for this. But if we get it started and then get our pliers on the clamp, like so, hopefully we will be able to get it around the tubing here. There we go. So, oh man, they may not actually go around this tubing quite as easy as I thought they would. I typically prefer compression fittings over barbs like these ones, just because clearly easier to work with than barbs and clamps. However, these are what I grabbed because I wanted some inline ones instead of the pass-through type. So they do work if you can get the dang clamps around the tubing, but it can be a struggle. I may just skip the clamps altogether. For now, I can get some larger clamps, and I'm pretty positive these won't leak. Oh yeah, it fits tight around the tubing. They're not going to leak without the clamps anyways, so I'm honestly not that concerned about it. So as far as that goes, all we gotta do now is slide this over. I think I'm going just fine. Normally you would like a clamp right here, and honestly I might just get the screw down clamps. I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of them laying around, and those you can install afterwards, so I'll just get some screw on clamps and tighten that up around there just to make sure that you never get a leak from your barb. However, you really shouldn't as it sits. Like I said, it fits pretty tight around the tubing. You do have to match the tubing size, obviously, your ID of your soft tubing with the quick disconnect that you get. But if you ever worked with tubing and fittings before, it's the same principle. Just match the sizes and you won't have issues. So one more cut and one more QDC. Yeah, so it is actually a pretty good fit as far as the barbs go, which is nice. I would rather it be more difficult to put on than too easy and then you get a leak. Okie dokie. So slide this guy. I want to line them up again. They kind of shifted. And I suppose these tubing tamers can get moved along. So I'm not sure what kind of builds all of you guys have going on. I really never considered much of QDCs until I really saw like Jay's 2 cents, if you guys have ever seen him on YouTube. Don't know if you have ever heard of him, but he has the EK QDCs on his test bench, his wet bench, I guess, and he uses that to change out blocks and stuff like that and try different configurations, which is really cool to see. And to be honest, it is just a really good testing tool if you do have a build like that. Otherwise, as I said, they can really make maintenance a lot easier. So if you do ever think, you know, you would ever want to just pull your block, one of your blocks out and, you know, do some maintenance, or say swap parts out, you know, you might plan on a processor upgrade at some point or something like that, you can throw in QDCs and you really don't have to do much. You don't have to drain your loop. You don't have to do any of that nonsense. And you can swap out components pretty easily with them. As for the bulkhead ones, those are really interesting. Those are really nice for external cooling loops. So say you wanted to run radiators that are outside your case, or even your pump res combo, all you would have to do is have some of these bulkhead ones like I have on the back here, and you know, you connect your tubes up to your blocks in your case, you run some of these bulkhead ones out the back, and then you can connect up the rest of your components outside of the case, which is actually really kind of cool to see. If somebody does set up a loop like that, I always do appreciate a good external cooling solution. So all we're doing now is just putting the tubing back on the rig, and so in the CPU loop, the fluid is it's just distilled water and then the Mayhem's additives. So if somebody wants to find the link for them, they're pretty easy to find. They're just in the water cooling fluid section, but it is just these. So it's an inhibitor and a biocide. There's one of each. I think they're like $8 for a bottle, but it honestly, you put in like 3 or 4 drops or something like that per liter of coolant that you run, or distilled water that you're using, and it's plenty. So those bottles will last you, you know, 50 liters of coolant or more, I would assume. But I just wanted to use that because, as I said, we're going to be swapping out these CPU blocks and testing their overall performance. So we're going to want to have everything else within the system a control. So distilled water, I figured, is just the most even playing field as far as coolants go. So that's why we went with that. So there we go. Last guy, and I guess I could have maybe shifted these over, but we'll see how it looks once I get it kind of evened up a little more. So I mean, all in all, I thought they might actually drag down the tubes more than that, but it's not too bad. So as I said, I maybe could have shifted them either left or right to make the bends more even. However, I do have a bunch more tubing laying around, so I could go back and change that if I did want to, but I think they should function just fine. Saying that, we can grab our coolant now that we drained off of it, as it is still perfectly fine. Gotta get the rest of this tube though. And we can fill her back up, and we'll see how these QDCs actually work, if these ones are indeed leak-free as well. I hope so. I would really like them to be leak-free. Where did my other little tube go? Here we go. So let's get this loop filled once again. And we can boot her up. And I wish I would have had the flow meters in before I did this, just to be able to see like how much of a change having quick disconnects in your loop does add as far as resistance goes. But that is something I can just go back and test. I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, you guys saw how easy it is to drain the top part of this loop real quick, and we can just put in straight tubes again and then compare it versus the flow rates with the QDC tubing. So that is something that I will explore, but I'm waiting for a bunch of cable mod cables and other stuff for this bench to come in. I think it's going to come in next Wednesday. So with that stuff, I'll be able to like finish off all the custom cables. Oops, dripped a little bit. We'll finish off the cables. As you can see, I got some like goofy EPS extensions up there. And to do that, I do have to tear apart the back of it just a bit. So I figured I'd install those flow meters around the same time. I was going to see if I can try to stream some of that. I'm not sure. It is kind of going to be a mess. There's going to be a lot to do at one time. However, I can do kind of a more in-depth video on those, as I'm sure some of you guys are interested, especially you Aquaro owners, because those are the Aquaro or Aqua Computer flow meters that I will connect up to an Aquaro and get the readings that way. So if you're into that kind of stuff, stay tuned. But we've almost got the reservoir full again. It's going to take a little bit to fill this loop, but we can start that process. Now, if we plug everything back in, that is. So many things. So little time. Alrighty. Oh, we need this too. Okay, so power. There we go. And start your engines. It still works. Look at that. it still does work, and I don't see any leaks yet. A miracle. So I may need to get a little more distilled water since I spilled some of this wonderfully expensive coolant. Shame on me. But she's booting back up. Hopefully we get to Windows here shortly. And as far as I know, temps really shouldn't change that much. As I said, the flow rate really, as like what I can see with the bubbles and everything going through the loop, it really doesn't seem to have decreased by any significant amount. So I really am not that concerned. I run these D5s at full speed right now. I'll probably, mess with their pump speeds and maybe get them tuned up at some point. But for now, they're just running full bore. Helps get the bubbles out too a lot faster. So as far as I can tell, they're working as intended, which is good to see. This whole stream's kind of been about these QDCs. Really definitely kind of encourage you guys to think of a way to use, QDCs in your loop, because as I said, they're kind of an overlooked fitting sometimes. And what kind of sparked me was last week Bits Power came out with their new QDCs, or they're not really new, I think they're just a different style of their older QDCs. However, those are some solid choices as well. A little bit on the pricier end. These are the Coolants, I think QD3, QD3H-F10 -P. So they're for 3/8, 5/8 tubing, and there's male and female end. There's the one key to quick disconnects. I think the only ones that come as a combo. Oops. Oh, there goes some more of my expensive coolant. The ones that come as a combo are the EK ones. So those ones are definitely, like, as far as like design goes, it's the simplest. They're those plastic ones. As I mentioned before, if you guys have seen Jay's 2 cents stream his bench build, he definitely uses those all the time, and they are really nice. Those are another option. I just thought the aesthetic of the stainless ones right here, actually these aren't stainless, they're just chrome plated brass as far as I know. They do make a stainless version, so Coolants does make an entirely stainless steel quick disconnect. I think they're like $50 a piece. I really kind of want to get them just because. But that'd be literally $200 in QDCs right there, because it's 4 separate items for doing 2 tubes like I did right there, which they do really start to add up. But as I said, for the convenience, if you can make use of them, they're really worth every penny. I keep spilling. This tube is just leaky and it is not ideal. But we got the loop pretty much filled up now. And as far as I can tell, temps are still the same. If you guys can see on the little monitor down at the bottom, we're running just under 30 on all cores, so 30 degrees Celsius with an ambient of 15, looks like tonight. So as far as I know, there really is no change. So I wouldn't expect that the flow rate changed by a vast amount, at least not enough to make a difference. But these are D5s at full speed, so I mean, I could slow them down and see if there is, that much of a change, but I highly doubt it's that big of a deal, as these are pretty, they really don't change diameter as far as the internal part of this. I'm sure it does get a little bit skinnier just because there's a barb fitting through there, but overall, not a huge deal. But that's really kind of all I was here to show you guys tonight. If you guys do have more questions about these or any other goofy fittings or even just normal fittings, feel free to shoot me an email. That should be linked in the chat or in the description. Just Matt at performancepcs.com. You can check that out. I'm always happy to help finding you guys different loop components and all that good stuff. If you are confused about any fittings, feel free to just shoot me an email. We also have our Discord, which, as I said, our mod from our Discord has actually helped me tonight with chat. So thank you for that, Ellie. I appreciate all your help. Hey, chat came back now that I booted up the computer again. That's nice. So I do appreciate you guys all coming by and checking out the stream. As I said, I will be back live again, I think next Thursday. As I said, that cable mod stuff will be in next Wednesday, so hopefully by Thursday I can at least have it organized to stream something or have it all done and ready to stream some new stuff. As I said, I got a whole bunch of water blocks. I can't wait to taste I don't know how many of these I'll taste, but we will be testing them. Taste tests are optional around here, but that'll be coming up really soon. Like I said, we just need the flow meters. Now that we have the QDCs, I suppose I could show you guys really quick what all happens with the QDC. I did say I would. So it will require me to shut down again. Oh boo. So we will just shut this guy down really quick, as it is going to cut off flow to the CPU block. But let's turn the camera. Oh no. The red that's just the PSU shroud, and I just cut the camera for some reason. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. My bad. The hotkeys worked that time when I bumped them. Of course. No, this is the PSU shroud. So this is a Core P5 case. The PSU is basically right behind this monitor. It's spaced a little bit, and then I put in a 5 1/4 bay. And these are the switches to bypass the radiators and use those back quick disconnects as I showed you guys earlier. But let's say I was gonna change out the CPU block because we wanted to put on, you know, say this nifty Heat Killer 1. So all we'd have to do is you just take the QDC here and you pull on the ring, and the tubes stay together since they're right next to each other, but they pop right apart. Oh, this one's the other way. I installed it opposite the other one. Okay, and we did get one drip. Did you see that? It leaked. So you did get a little bit. If you don't pull them apart quickly, you may get just a drip or two. But honestly, that's pretty painless. And now you have flow cut off to this. So all I do is pull the block off. You can, I mean, you're gonna lose this much fluid, but once it's off the whole, you know, motherboard, you can just drain it into a bucket if you really care, or, you know, into your sink, whatever's gonna work. And then you can swap out your block, your fittings, and then you just throw that back on. And these tubes just stay right here. And obviously, as I said, no leaks, and they'll just sit here. And all you would have to do after that is come back and push them back together like so. And boom, you can boot your PC right back up again, and you got water flowing. So really cool, honestly. I definitely advise them if you guys got a test bench of any sort. They are a really nice tool for that. They just make your test bench an even better tool than it can already be. So feel free to check those out. I kind of linked all of them on PPC's site. So if you guys have questions about which ones to use, feel free to shoot me an email. Oh, really? That was probably 0.2 milliliters. No, in all honesty, I'm sure it's really hard to, you know, get it perfectly leak free. As I said, if you really don't actually pull them apart, it does actually want to kind of leak. It leaves the, I don't even know exactly the whole internals of a QDC. I've never like seen one blown apart. However, it does cause it to, you know, stay opened a little bit if you don't just pull them apart. So that doesn't help either. Just kind of what I did right there. So if you guys do use them, just make sure, you know, you pull them apart, and when you plug them back in together, you just put them together. You don't, you know, lollygag in the middle and have fun with it, because you could get coolant leaking out in that situation. So all in all, I think that wasn't too difficult of a task. As I kind of said, all we really needed was our tubing cutters, and, you know, we drained the loop and it's already filled back up again. So all in all, easy stuff. Can't wait to be back next week, guys. I hope you guys all had great Christmas. I thank everybody for getting in on our 12 days of Christmas giveaways. If you guys did win something, feel free to post pictures in the group. Share what you guys won, or if you got some really cool, you know, PC Christmas gifts, feel free to share those. It's been interesting to see some of that floating around Facebook, so I'd love to see what everyone else is doing with their holidays and whatever they got. So without further ado, though, I think we will cap her off for the night, and I will be seeing you, as I said, next Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. Central, and we'll be working more on the bench. We do have the CNC coming up soon as well. I'll be putting that together, getting a cabinet made, and learn how to use the thing very soon now. So, you know, get ready for that, because I'm pretty pumped. But otherwise, I think that'll do it, guys. Thank you for stopping in. Thanks, Ellie, for helping with questions. And as I said, get in touch with me if you have any more. Have a good night, everybody.